Hi guys, myself Adi Krishna, working as an automation test engineer at Epstem Technologies. Today, I'm going to explain how to automate using Puppeteer. For that, I'm using BDD and Cucumber with Puppeteer. So let's start. What actually is Puppeteer? Puppeteer is a node library which provides a high-level API to control headless Chrome or Chromium over the DevTools protocol. So the next question that arises will be, is Puppeteer a test framework? No, actually Puppeteer is just a library which gives us the power to fully control the browser. So we need to combine with other tools such as Mocha, Just etc. and Assertion Library, for example Chai, to build a complete test automation framework. What programming languages are supported? Currently, the programming languages that is supported is the JavaScript, including async and await syntax. As I have told in the beginning, I am using BDD with Cucumber. So let me explain what actually is this BDD and Cucumber. BDD stands for Behavior Driven Development. BDD transfers from TDD, Test Driven Development, which allows users to work with multiple test data with minimum intervention in the software code and thereby helps to increase the reusability of the code, which is a time-saving mechanism in the software development or test automation. Now coming to Cucumber. Cucumber is a BDD framework tool. Cucumber is a behavior-driven development framework tool to write test cases. Cucumber follows a given, when, and a then approach. So what actually is this given, when, and then? Given means some given context, or we can say there are some preconditions. When means some actions that are performed. Then means particular outcome or consequences after all the above step, or simply we can say they are the result of given and when. So let me explain this using an example. In this example, I have given the feature name as BDD implementation using Cucumber. And I have given the scenario name as login to Gmail. As I have told, given means some precondition. So the precondition here is user is navigating to Gmail login page. And when means some actions that are performed. So the action here is user need to enter the username as username and password as password. Then means the result of given and when. So the result here is user is successfully navigated to the Gmail mailbox. I'm going to show examples during coding so that it will be easy to understand. So for that, I'm going to take zerowebappsecurity.com as a reference. So we will start by creating a new project, install dependencies, set up commands, and also I'm going to show you how to implement Cucumber HTML report so that we can auto-generate our report and we can use them as a nice test, visualizations, etc. Here I have opened the Visual Studio Code and I have created a project named Zero Web App Security, as you can see. The first thing that we need to do is to initialize the project. So for initializing the project, what you need to do is to open the terminal and write the following command for initializing the project: npm init. As I have already initialized the project that you can see. So upon initializing the project, you can see the package.json file here. And while initializing the project, you need to give the following version names, descriptions, etc. like that. So I have given all those details as you can see. I have given the package name as Zero Web App Security. I have given the version name as such. And I have given a description as Puppeteer with Cucumber.js. I have given the keywords as Puppeteer, Gherkin, Cucumber, and JavaScript. And I have given the author name as such. Also, you can give the author name as your name. It's not mandatory. And I have given the license as such. So we have initialized the project. And the next thing that we need to do is to install the dependencies. So for installing the dependencies, what we want is a Puppeteer, the Cucumber HTML reporter, and then the child, which is the assertion library. So the command for installing the dependencies is npm install Puppeteer Cucumber HTML reporter and the last one child. So this is a command for installing the dependencies. As here I have already installed the dependencies. As you can see, I have installed Puppeteer, Cucumber HTML reporter and Shy here. So we have initialized the project, we have installed dependencies, and we are ready to go. So what to do next is to create the test script. Actually, we need two test scripts here. One is for running the test and the other one is for generating the report. As I have already created that two scripts here, as you can see, this is a test script for running the test and this one for generating the report. So we have created two test scripts here. And the next thing that we need to do is to create the feature file. Actually, feature files are plain English-like words or sentence that have code, and each of the sentences is actually the executable code of the text. So I am going to create a new folder in the root of the file and going to name it as features. So here I have already created the feature folder, and inside this folder I have created a file named login.feature where we will write all the features. So this feature file contains the title as login. Then I have given a description as a user I can log into Zero Bank account. Next is to specify the test scenario. So I have given the test scenario as that verify that the user can sign in using the valid credential. So under this test scenario, we can specify our Gherkin syntax. And it starts with the keywords given, when, and then. As you can see, there is one more keyword and where you can combine multiple statements. And is mainly used for the readability purpose. As you can see, in this when statement, I click on sign in button, I expect to see login page and I fill the login details and submit. Either you can write this two as a single line or otherwise you can split it into a multiple and so that the code looks little more readable. So this is our feature. The next step that we need to do is to implement each of these features using Cucumber.js and Puppeteer. So what we need to do is to, inside this features folder, I have created a subfolder named support where we can write all the step definitions. So inside this support folder, I have created a new file named steps.js. So let's have a look into steps.js. So first thing that we need to do in this step definition file is to import some variables from Cucumber. And also we need to require that from Cucumber too, so that we can start using these keywords in these variables in our functions. Also I have set a default timeout here and also required that from Cucumber too. Next, we have our before and after steps. The need of this before and after step is that each Puppeteer tester file actually requires to launch the browser and at the same time close the browser. So before each of this feature file, it will basically run the code launch browser, and at the end of each single feature, it will run the code close browser. So in this async function, first we need to specify the function and we will implement this function later. As you can see in this before async function, I have written the function name as launch browser, and inside this after async function, I have written the function name as close browser. Similarly, I have written all the step definitions for given, when, and then. Sorry, this is then. As you can see, for this given, when, and then statement, I have written the corresponding step definitions here. So we have created our step definition file. We have created our feature file. So next thing that we need to do is to implement these functions, all these functions. So again, in this support folder, I'm going to create a file named login.js. As you can see, I have already created a file named login.js where we are going to implement these functions. As you can see, inside this function, I have written these two following steps here. I have imported two things here. First is a set world class constructor function from Cucumber, and I have required that from Cucumber too. Next, I have imported everything from Puppeteer. I have created a class named create user account, something like that, as you can give suitable name here. And next I have to export or use a set world class constructor here. And inside the set world class constructor, I have passed the class name create user account as a parameter. So let's implement all the function by function inside the class. So before coming to this code, let me explain what actually I am going to do here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to navigate to this Zero Web App Security URL. I'm going to click on this sign in button. So I expect to see this login to Zero Bank account page. I enter the credentials and I click on the sign in button. And clicking on this sign in button, expect to see this account summary page. So this is what we are going to do. So now let's have a look at our code. As you can see, I have called the async launch browser function here. As you can see in the step definition, in this before, we have written this launch browser function here. So what I have written in this function is, first I have written this.browser equal to await puppeteer.launch. So what it does is, it is launching the browser. And I have given headless true. What it does is, it's a way of running the browser UI test without the head, which in this case means there is no browser UI. So when I change the headless to false, it will run the code with a browser UI mode. Also, I have given a default viewport as null. In the next line, I have given this.page equal to await this.browser.new page. What it does is, it will open the browser in a new page. Also, I have set a default timeout here. Also, I have set a default navigation timeout here. So this is what I have done in the launch browser function. So the next function we have is a close browser. So in this async close browser function, what I have done is await this.browser.close. What it actually does is, it's closing the browser. So we are clear with this launch browser and close browser function. Next we have visit function, click sign in button, fill credentials and submit, and expect activity page for this given steps. So let's have a look into this visit function. So in this visit function, I have written await this.page.goto, and inside this I have written the URL. What it does is, it will actually call the URL and it's navigating to that corresponding website. So after this line, I have written await this.page.wait for selector, and inside that I have given or passed some ID here. So what it does is, after it navigates to this URL, it is expecting for this Zero Bank index page. So for that, I have took this search box ID as a selector. As you can see, ID equal to search term, and I have passed this ID here. So after navigating to this URL, it will wait for this page to be there. So this is what I have written in the visit function. So after visit function, what I am doing is I click on the sign in button. I expect to see the login page. So I have written the click function for that sign in button. Await this dot page dot click, and I have given the ID of that sign in button. As you can see, when we inspect on this sign in button, we can see the ID here. As you can see, sign in button. So I have passed the ID of the sign in button here. So after this click, I have written await this dot page dot wait for selector, and I have given the ID login form. So what it does is, after clicking on this sign in button, it is expecting for this page to be there. Login to Zero Bank, this page. So I have taken an ID from that page. Await this dot page dot wait for selector login form. So this is what I have written in the click sign in button function. So next we have is the fill credentials and submit. And in that I have written, I fill the login details and submit. So what I have done here is I fill all those credentials and click on the sign in button. So what I have done here is await this dot page dot type, and into that username field I have passed the value here. Into this password field text box I have passed the value here, and finally I click on that sign in button. So I have taken the ID of this text box as user login. I have passed the ID here and I have given the value here. Similar to that, in this password field text box, I have given the ID here and password here. As this sign in button does not have an ID, so I take the class BTN primary here and I have passed here. So this is what I have done in file credentials and submit. So the next step we have, I expect to see the banking activity page. Expect banking activity page function. What I'm doing is, after filling all these credentials and clicking on the sign in button, it will take me to the activity page. So I have written the code await this dot page dot wait for selector, and I have given the ID of that page. As I have given the ID as this one, as you can see, account summary tab. Yeah. So this is what I have given. So this is the implementation of this step definition. Now what we need to do is we need to run this test. So I'm going to run this test here using the command npm run test. So as you can see, our tests are going to be run. As you can see, they are running. Now I have run the test in a headless true mode, that is without a browser UI. If you want to see the browser UI, you can change this headless instead of true to this false. As you can see, our test has been passed. One scenario, one passed, and 4 steps and 4 steps have been passed. So we are good to go. After running the test, the next thing that we need to do is to generate the report. For that, I have created a file in the root of the folder and name it as report.js. So what I do here is, I create a reporter here and require that from Cucumber HTML reporter. Then I will call the options here and set up the configurations for that report. First, I have created a theme as Bootstrap. Then I have created a JSON file here, Cucumber report.json. Then we need to specify the output, and our output will be in HTML format, Cucumber report.html. Next, I have set the report suite scenarios as true. Then next, to launch the report and set it as false. Finally, we need to call the reporter that we have imported in the top and pass all the options inside that. we have passed all these options inside this. The next thing that we need to do is to generate the report using the command. So this is a command for generating the report, npm run, and we can take this from here, generate report. As you can see, our report has been generated successfully. And you can see the file here, cucumberreport.html. This is the HTML format of our report, and if you want to view it in the browser, you can right click on this, copy the path, and paste it in the browser. So this is our HTML report of Cucumber. As you can see the feature name here, and when on expanding, we can give the description. We can see the description as we have given in this file. This one, as you can see, the feature name and the description. So inside that, we have the details of our scenario name, and our steps. And at the top, we can see all the pass count and the fade count. So this is our Cucumber HTML report. Hope you all are clear with Puppeteer, with BDD and Cucumber. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Thank you.